Welcome back. Wherever you're listening from tonight, settle in. Let your head find the pillow it means to keep. Let the blanket sit where you want it. You don't need to hold on to anything that's said. You only need it to let you carry you off. Tonight, you are a lamplighter in Victorian London, and tonight the fog has come up off the river. The cold finds your hands first, not your face, your hands, because they are the part of you that must stay bare. You've cut the fingers from your gloves, and the November air moves into them slow and certain, the way water finds a cracked jug. Then the sound. Below you, a dray horse sets its iron shoe to the cobbles, once, twice, and the noise comes up muffled, as though the street has been wrapped in felt overnight. You know that sound. It means the fog has come up thick. Only then do you let yourself look, and there is nothing to see. You are 47 years old. Your name is Samuel Reed, and you have lit the lamps of this parish for 19 winters, the same 400 lamps in the same order, 6 nights in 7. You could walk the round blind. Tonight you may have to. You lift the pole from your shoulder. At its tip burns a small flame in a brass cage, your fire, the one light in all the world that belongs to you. You raise it to the glass of the first lamp, the way you have 10,000 times. The mantle catches, a bloom of yellow swells inside the globe, and then the fog leans in and drinks the light before it can fall to the street. Behind you, the lamp you lit is already only a stain, a rumor of gold in the murk, giving the pavement nothing. Ahead of you wait 399 more. This is the work. On a night like this, you do not light the city, you only prove how much dark there is. So come, take the pole. We are going out into the 4 hours the histories never wrote down, midnight to dawn, when the fog turns the gas to embers, and every street you know becomes a country no map has ever held. We'll walk it lamp by lamp. Listen for the tap of the pole on the iron post, once, twice, the only thing that tells you where the next lamp stands. Lie back. Let your eyes close. You won't need them where we're going. The first lamp is the one you trust least. Not because it is far. It stands not 30 paces from your own door, on the corner where the narrow street gives on to the wider road. And you have lit it more nights than you have lit any other lamp in the parish. You trust it least because it is the one that tells you what kind of night this will be. You read it the way a sailor reads the first gray line of weather on the horizon. And tonight, when the mantle caught and the yellow swelled and then sank back into the murk like a coin dropped into deep water, the lamp told you the truth before you had walked 10 yards. The fog has the upper hand, and it means to keep it. You go on anyway. There is no version of this work where you do not go on. The lamp you have just lit is a coal gas lamp, and the gas that feeds it has traveled a long way to reach the flame at the end of your pole. It was made, the most of it, at the great works at Beckton, down the river to the east, where the Gaslight and Coke Company bakes coal in iron retorts until it gives up its gas, and the gas runs out under the streets of London through nearly 1,000 miles of iron main, branching and narrowing, parish to parish, street to street, until it rises at last in a thin pipe inside the hollow post you are standing beneath. There is a whole buried city of pipe under your boots, carrying light to 400,000 burners across the capital, and not one Londoner in 100 has ever thought of it. You think of it every night. You have to. When a lamp will not catch, it is your business to know whether the fault is the mantle or the tap or the long, cold breath of gas that has come 3 miles in an iron pipe to reach you.
The pole rides on your right shoulder, worn smooth at the place where it has sat against the bone of you for 19 winters. It is longer than you are tall, a slender shaft of ash with a brass head, and inside the brass head, a small, steady flame sheltered from the wet by a little hood you keep polished out of habit more than need. That flame is the whole of your authority in the world. A man with fire in the dark is a man other men make way for. But the fog does not make way. The fog does not know you, or care that you have come, or understand that the small light you carry is meant to be shared out, lamp by lamp, the length of every street between here and the river. The fog simply waits with its mouth open. You are one of perhaps a few thousand men who do this work in London on any given night, and the work is older than you might think. There have been lamplighters in this city since the first oil lamps were hung out under an Act of Parliament a century and more ago. And gas came in the year after Waterloo, when a German named Windsor lit the first row of gas lamps along Pall Mall, and the crowds came out to stare at light that burned without a wick they could see. You light a parish of them now for 19 shillings a week, which is a laborer's wage and a little more. And for it you walk the same round twice, once at dusk to light, once before dawn to put out, 6 nights in 7, in every weather the year can throw at a man. You could walk the round blind. Tonight you may have to. You reach the second lamp by the feel of the curb under your boots more than by sight. This is the trick of it, the thing no one tells the young ones who think the work is only climbing and reaching. On a clear night, you light the city with your eyes, and on a night like this, you light it with your feet. The curbstones are your map, the camber of the road, the place where the paving turns rough outside the chandlers, the iron grating that rings hollow when your heel comes down on it. These are the marks you steer by when the lamps you yourself have lit refuse to throw you so much as a shadow.
And your feet have their own memory, older than your eyes. They know the 11th lamp on this stretch sits 2 paces back from the curb because a brewer's dray took the post clean out the winter of the hard frost, and the parish set the new one crooked and never straightened it. They know the gutter outside the pie shop runs deeper than the rest, so that on a wet night you step wide there or fill your boot. They know the precise number of strides between the chandler's door and the mouth of the alley. 41, you counted them once, in a fog worse even than this. The eyes can be lied to. The fog lies to them all night long, but the feet keep their own honest record. You set the ladder against the tall post and climb. 3 rungs. The fog closes over your head as you rise into it, thicker the higher you go, so that by the time your hand finds the small door in the side of the lantern, you can no longer see the pavement you climbed from. You open the little door, you turn the tap, and you hear, before you smell it, the soft exhalation of the gas, a thin hiss like a held breath let slowly go. Then the smell, that sweetish, faintly rotten reek of coal gas that has lived in the back of your nose for 19 years and will, you suspect, be the last thing you smell when you die. You bring the flame to the burner. The gas takes it with a small whoomph you feel in your wrist more than here, and the light comes up. For one heartbeat, it is beautiful. It is always beautiful, that first instant, a globe of warm gold blooming in the cold, the wet glass throwing it back, the iron of the post suddenly edged in honey color. For one heartbeat, the lamp does what a lamp is for. It pushes the dark back to arm's length and says, "Here, here is a place a man might stand and not be afraid." And then the fog leans in and drinks the light before it can fall to the street.
You have watched this 10,000 times, and it has never stopped being strange. The light does not go out. That is the thing you could never make the young ones understand, the winter you were given one to train, and he gave it up by Candlemas. The lamp burns on, faithful, steady, exactly as bright as it was made to be. It is the reach of it that the fog takes. On a clear night, the glow would spill out a good way in every direction, would lay a soft coin of gold on the wet stones below, would let a woman find her latchkey, and a drunk find the wall, and a child find its way home. The light from a single good gas lamp on a clear night will let a man read the time on his watch a dozen feet from the post. Tonight, the same flame throws nothing. The gold stops at the glass. Beyond the globe there is a halo, a smear, a rumor of warmth, and then the yellow nothing, unbroken in every direction you care to turn your head. This is not your fault, and it is not the lamp's, and after 19 winters you understand exactly why it happens, which is a small bitter comfort of its own. The fog of London is not the clean white mist of the country. It is the city's own breath turned against it, the smoke of 1,000,000 coal fires banked up in grates against the November cold, pouring soot and sulfur into air that the cold has pinned down low over the streets so that nothing can lift it. The smoke and the river damp marry in the still cold air and make a thing that is neither cleanly smoke nor cleanly fog, but something thicker and dirtier than either, the color of pea soup, heavy with grit you can taste on your teeth. And that grit is what beats you. Each particle of it catches the light from your burner and throws it back, scatters it, drowns it, so that the harder the lamp burns, the denser the glowing murk around it, and the less, not the more, you can see. You are not lighting the street, you are lighting the fog itself, lamp by lamp, and the fog keeps every scrap of it.
You climb down. You stand a moment at the foot of the post and look back the way you came, and you can no longer see the first lamp at all, not even a stain. It is there, you know it is there. You lit it with your own hand not 5 minutes since. But the fog has closed the distance between you and it like water closing over a stone, and the proof of your work has simply ceased to be visible. You might never have come this way. The street behind you is exactly as dark as it would have been if you had stayed in your bed. This is the particular cruelty of a foggy night, and it is a cruelty you have made a kind of peace with, the way a man makes peace with a bad knee or a hard winter. On a clear night, you can stand at the end of a lit street and see your whole evening's work strung out behind you like beads on a wire. Lamp, 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 each one a small gold proof that you were here, and the dark is less because of it. On a clear night, you are a man who did something. On a night like this, you do the same work, the very same work, lamp for lamp and tap for tap, and at the end of it, there is nothing to show. The lamps burn where you cannot see them. The light goes out into the fog, and the fog keeps it. On a night like this,
You do not light the city. You only prove how much dark there is.
You shoulder the pole again. You move off toward the third lamp, and you find it the way you find them all tonight, by the tap. You bring the foot of the pole down on the iron base of the post, once, twice, and listen to the small, flat ring of ash wood on cold metal come back to you out of the murk. It is how you check the post is where your feet say it is. It is also, though you would not say so to anyone, a kind of company. The tap of the pole on the iron post, once, twice, the only sound in all the wrapped-up silence, the only thing in the whole drowned street that answers when you call. You light the third lamp. The fog drinks it. You light the fourth. The fog drinks that one too. Somewhere off to your left, muffled and softened by the felt of the air, a church clock begins to tell the hour, and you count the strokes out of long habit, even though you know the hour without counting. Midnight. And the bell sounds as though it is being rung underwater, each stroke arriving rounded and dull, stripped of its edges the way every sound is stripped tonight. Midnight. The hour the histories never wrote down. From here until the gray comes up over the rooftops, if it comes up at all through this, the city belongs to the people the daytime does not count. The lamplighter, the watchman, the cabman who cannot see his own horse, the woman in the doorway who has nowhere warmer to be. The respectable city is in its bed behind shuttered glass, and it has handed the dark over to you, and it has asked one small, impossible thing of you in exchange for your 19 shillings a week. Make us a little light to come by.
You raise the pole to the fifth lamp. The flame breathes. The gold comes up and is beautiful and is taken. You go on. You will light 400 of them before the night is done, and you will not see more than a dozen of them at once, and not one of them will throw you a shadow to walk by. That is the work. You made your peace with it long ago. You carry the fire, and the fog keeps the light. And somewhere out in all that yellow, a city you cannot see is breathing the dark in and out, and trusting, without ever once thinking of you, that the lamps will be lit when they need them. They will be. You are seeing to it. Lamp by lamp, tap by tap, you are seeing to it. The fog leans in and drinks the light, and you move on into the dark you cannot mend.
There is a thing about this fog you do not often say aloud, because there is rarely anyone out here to say it to. It is this: the fog does not only blind, the fog counts. You have lit lamps in this parish for 19 winters, and you have learned to read the bad nights the way a farmer reads a hard sky. Not every fog is a killing fog. Some are only a nuisance, a gray softening of the edges, gone by 10 in the morning, good for nothing worse than a barked shin and a late cab. But some come up the way this one has come up, yellow before midnight, thick enough to taste, with a stillness to the air that means the cold has pressed it down flat over the city, and nothing will lift it before morning. And you know, the way you know a coming frost in the ache of your knee, that a fog like this one is not merely passing through, it has settled in to stay a while. You could not put a number to it, but there are men whose whole business is exactly that. Men who sit in offices you will never enter and keep the books of the city, the Registrar General's people, who gather the returns from every district in London each week and set them down in tidy columns. so many born, so many dead, of so many causes, at so many ages, and every week in an ordinary winter, the number carried off by the chest, the bronchitis, the asthma, the slow trouble of the lungs, runs to something near 500. 500 a week. That is the everyday price of breathing London air in the cold months, a toll the city pays without ever quite remarking on it, the way it pays for its coal and its gravy. And then a fog like this comes, and the column quietly swells.
You do not know the figures by heart, but you know the shape of the truth beneath them, because you have walked through fogs like this before and seen what the spring turns up. The fog you are lighting tonight, the same fog drinking the gold off every lamp and giving the pavement nothing, is going in under a great many doors at once. It is settling into a great many chests. And by the time the worst of it has passed, 3 weeks perhaps, there will be something like 2,000 Londoners gone who would otherwise have seen the spring. 2,000 on top of the ordinary toll, a whole small town's worth of the quietly departed, and not one of them taken in any way that makes a story. That is the part that is strange to hold. The fog does not kill the way a runaway dray kills, or a fall from a high scaffold, quickly, loudly, a crowd gathering, a name in the morning paper. The fog kills slowly and quietly and with no fuss at all. It finds the old man whose chest was already weak and makes it a little weaker and a little weaker, until one gray afternoon he settles into his chair and does not feel like rising from it, and that is all. It is a patient thing, a quiet thing, a destroyer so soft-footed and so little noticed that the city has half decided to think of it as merely weather. And there were men, even in your own day, who said as much in plain print. A gentleman of the scientific societies has set it down in a small book on the London fogs, that the unseen and little noticed causes of death are by far the most fatal of all, that this quiet and despised destroyer does its work slowly and makes no unseemly disturbance, and so escapes the alarm that a swifter killer would raise. He has the right of it. A fire in a theater, a wreck upon the railway, a dozen lost at once, that fills a column and stops the breakfast tables of the city cold. But a fog that takes its 2,000 a little at a time, an old man here and an infant there, each in his own quiet room with no witness but the drawn curtain, that the city files under weather and grumbles at and forgets. The slowness of it is the very thing that hides it. If the fog killed its 2,000 in a single afternoon in the open where it could be seen, they would pull the chimneys down by Lady Day. But it does not. It is patient. It takes a winter to do its counting, and it does the counting in the dark, among the people no one is watching, and so the chimneys stand, and the fires are banked again the next cold evening, and the air goes brown over the rooftops one more night.
You pass a house where an elderly clerk keeps his rooms, a man who used to sit at his upper window of an evening when you came by with the pole, watching you light the lamp outside his glass as though it were a small entertainment laid on for him alone. He would lift a hand, you would lift the pole an inch in answer. Tonight the curtain is drawn across the window, and you cannot tell through the fog whether that means he has gone early to his bed against the cold, or something quieter than that. You light his lamp the same as ever. The fog drinks it the same as ever. It is not your place to knock, and there is nothing knocking could mend, and so you stand a moment beneath the dark glass, and then move on, carrying the not knowing gently the way you carry everything else tonight.
This is what the daytime city never quite sees about the fog, even when the black columns are set before it. To the gentleman reading his paper by a good fire, the fog is an inconvenience, a late train, a smutted collar, a cab that costs double because the man cannot see his horse's ears. He grumbles and forgets. He does not picture the same brown air going 3 streets away, quietly into the chest of someone's grandmother and not quite coming out again. The fog spares the warm and the well-fed mostly, and so the men who write about the fog are mostly spared, and so the fog gets written down as a joke, a peculiarity, a thing that makes London, London. The rest is done out of sight, in the cold back rooms, among the people the daytime does not count, and you are out here above their roofs tonight, lighting lamps, perhaps the only soul abroad who is thinking of them at all. And here is the part you have watched on every killing fog light you have ever worked. The fog gets thicker as the night goes on. A country mist burns off. It rises in the cool of the evening, and the morning sun lifts it away, and that is the natural order of mist. But this is not a country mist. This is the city's own breath turned back on itself, the smoke of 1,000,000 coal fires banked against the cold, pressed flat by the still air, with nowhere to climb. And a city does not stop breathing out smoke because the hour has grown late. All night, while the respectable sleep, their banked grates go on feeding the murk, and so the fog does not thin toward morning, it deepens. By the small hours, it will be browner and heavier than it is now, so that the darkest, stillest part of the night is also the part in which the fog does its quietest work.
You stop. You bring the foot of the pole down on the iron base of the next post, once, twice, and the small flat ring comes back to you out of the murk, telling you the post stands where your feet promised it would. You set the ladder, you climb into the thickening yellow, and you light the lamp, and for one heartbeat the gold blooms beautiful in the cold, before the fog leans in and takes it. You have breathed this air for 19 winters, a little at a time, the same as every soul in the city breathes it. It is simply the condition of the place. You do not dwell. A man who let himself dwell on the fog in his own chest would never climb the ladder at all, and the lamps would go unlit, and the people stepping out into the gray at dawn would have no faint stains of gold to find their way by. So you do not dwell. You climb down. You shoulder the pole. You go on, because the work does not pause for the fact that the air is heavy tonight, and because the lamps must be lit whether or not the lighting does much good, and because somewhere out in all that yellow are the strong ones, the spared ones, who will wake in the morning and need a little light to come home by. You cannot fin the air. You cannot lift the fog or argue with the columns in the registrar's book. You can only do the one small thing the city has asked of you in exchange for your 19 shillings a week. Go out into the dark it will not face, and leave a string of small gold marks through it, lamp by lamp, for the living to follow at dawn. On a night like this, you do not light the city. You only prove how much dark there is, and how patiently and how quietly that dark goes about its counting beneath the sleeping roofs. You find the next post by the tap. Once, twice. You climb. The fog drinks the light. You go on.
You have been asked once or twice by people who do not live in London what the fog is like, and you have never quite found the words, because the people who ask are thinking of mist, the soft white breath that rises off a meadow at dawn, lies in the hollows and burns away by 9. They think the London fog is that, only thicker. It is not that at all. It is not even the same color, and the color is the first thing you would tell them if you could ever make them believe it. The London fog has a color, several in truth, and it changes them through the night the way a bruise changes through a week. When it first comes up off the river in the early evening, it is gray, a clean enough gray, only a little dirty at the edges. But as the cold presses it down and the fires of the city feed it, it deepens and warms and sickens, until by the hour you are walking through now, it has gone the color of weak pea soup left to stand, a brownish yellow, a yellow with the green gone bad in it, a yellow that in the cone beneath a lamp turns very nearly orange, almost red, like the inside of a banked fire seen through dirty glass. The city has its own names for it. A pea souper, the cabmen say, a London particular, as though the fog were a dish the city cooked for itself and no one else. A thing as much its own as jellied eels or the sound of bow bells. You have stood beneath your own lit lamp on a night like this and watched the fog go from brown to yellow to a dull burning red and back again, slow, as though something were breathing it in and out. The country folk do not believe air can be that color. You have stopped trying to tell them.
And it has a taste. This is the second thing. The mist of the meadow tastes of nothing, or of wet grass at worst. The London particular you can taste on the back of your teeth within a minute of stepping into it, a flat, sulphurous, faintly sweet and rotten taste, the taste of 10,000 coal grates breathing out at once, with something mineral beneath it, like a struck match held too long. It coats the tongue. By the end of a round you will spit, and what comes up will be gray. By morning, when you blow your nose, the cloth will be black. The fog is not a thing that hangs in the air around you and lets you pass through it clean. It comes inside. It lines you. You carry the night's fog home in your chest and your throat and the creases of your face, wash a little of it off in the basin, and breathe the rest of it back out slowly over the next day, and then you go out and take in a fresh night's worth. A learned gentleman of the scientific societies, writing of these very fogs, called the London air on such a night a thing one might be slowly suffocated in. And he was not being fanciful, he was being exact. He weighed it and tested it and set down what was in it, the soot, the sulphur, the grit, the foul breath of 1,000,000 chimneys held down low over the streets with the cold and unable to rise. He said a man on a bad fog night was near enough simmering in his own gravy, the city stewing in the smoke of its own fires. A coarse way of putting it. You have never heard it put better. You are walking tonight through the city's own exhaled breath, thickened and colored and turned faintly poisonous, and the strangeness of it never quite wears off. That air, the one thing a man is supposed to trust without thinking, has become a substance you must push through and taste and chew and wear.
Because it does move. That is the third thing, and the strangest, and the thing that has made more than one steady man uneasy out here in the small hours. The fog is not still. You would think a thing so heavy, so pressed down, would lie there like water in a basin. It does not. It drifts. It gathers and thins and gathers again. You will be walking a stretch where you can see, if not far, then at least to the next post, and then with no wind to push it, for no reason you can name, the fog will thicken in front of you, roll up into a wall, and the post you were steering for will simply be gone, swallowed, as though a hand had been drawn across it.
A minute later it thins, and there the post is, exactly where it always was, patient, waiting. The fog opens and closes around you like something with a will. It lets you see, and then decides you have seen enough. On the worst nights, you have watched it come down a street towards you, actually seen it advance, a denser brown front moving over the cobbles at a walking pace, and you have felt the foolish animal urge to step into a doorway and let it pass, the way you would step aside for a dray.
It does other things a dead thing should not do. It muffles every sound, as you know. The bells of St. Clement's come up rounded and drowned. The cab wheels go soft. And yet it will sometimes carry a single small noise an impossible distance, clear and close, so that a cough 3 streets off arrives at your ear as though the man stood at your shoulder. And you turn, and there is no one, only the brown nothing. It plays tricks with the lamps, too, and not only yours. The few lit windows of the city, a sick-room candle, a public house still serving, do not shine out through the fog so much as bleed into it, each one a soft smear of dirty gold with no edge, no shape, hanging in the murk at no distance you can judge. You cannot tell whether it is a lamp 10 feet off or a window 100 yards away. The fog takes away distance itself. It takes the size of things and the shape of things and the place of things and leaves you in a brown world with no measurements in it at all, where the only thing you can be sure of is the cold iron of the next post when your hand finally closes on it. And it has a smell that changes with the parish, which is the part you know better than any gentleman with his instruments, because you walk it. Down by the river the fog smells of the river, of mud and tar and cold rot and the low tide reek. Near the gasworks it smells of the works, that thick coal tar sweetness that catches in the throat. Past the tanneries it turns for 100 yards into something you will not name even to yourself. By the markets it carries the ghost of fish and trodden cabbage. The fog picks up the breath of every trade it passes over and holds it, layered, so that a man who knew the city well enough could very nearly walk it blind by smell alone, parish by parish, the way you very nearly do. The fog is not one thing. It is the whole city, breathed out and held low and stirred together. Every fire, every trade, every river reach and back alley mixed into one brown, breathing body and pressed down over the sleeping roofs.
You stop in the middle of it. You bring the foot of the pole down on the iron of the next post, once, twice, and the ring comes back closer and deader than by day, as though the fog had wrapped the sound in felt before it let it reach you. You stand a moment and let yourself feel the thing you do not say to the country folk because they would think you simple, that on a night like this it is very hard to go on believing the fog is only weather. It moves with a purpose it should not have. It chooses when to let you see. It comes inside you and lines you and will not be washed wholly off. It is the breath of 4 million people and 1 million fires gathered into one slow body, lying over the city all night with a patience that feels to a tired man on a ladder at 1 a.m. very much like the patience of something alive. You do not believe that, of course. By daylight you would laugh at yourself for half thinking it. The fog is smoke and damp and cold air and nothing more. And a man who lights 400 lamps a night cannot afford to think his weather alive, or he would never climb at all. But the daylight is a long way off, and the brown air is opening and closing around you with that slow will it should not have, and the lamp you have just lit bleeds its gold into the murk with no edge and no reach. One more smear of dirty light hung in a substance the color of a banked fire. You climb down into it. It takes you back without a sound. You shoulder the pole, find the next post by the tap, once, twice, and go on into the color of the air, which is brown and yellow, and the dull red of something breathing, and which closes over the place where you stood as though you had never been there at all.
You stop in the middle of it. You bring the foot of the pole down on the iron of the next post, once, twice, and the ring comes back closer and deader than by day, as though the fog had wrapped the sound in felt before it let you reach you. You stand a moment and let yourself feel the thing you do not say to the country folk, because they would think you simple, that on a night like this it is very hard to go on believing the fog is only weather. It moves with a purpose it should not have. It chooses when to let you see. It comes inside you and lines you and will not be washed wholly off. It is the breath of 4 million people and 1 million fires gathered into one slow body, lying over the city all night with a patience that feels, to a tired man on a ladder at 1 in the morning, very much like the patience of something alive. You do not believe that, of course. By daylight, you would laugh at yourself for half thinking it. The fog is smoke and damp and cold air and nothing more, and a man who lights 400 lamps a night cannot afford to think his weather alive, or he would never climb at all. But the daylight is a long way off, and the brown air is opening and closing around you with that slow will it should not have, and the lamp you have just lit bleeds its gold into the murk with no edge and no reach, one more smear of dirty light hung in a substance the color of a banked fire. You climb down into it. It takes you back without a sound. You shoulder the pole, find the next post by the tap, once, twice, and go on into the color of the air, which is brown and yellow and the dull red of something breathing, and which closes over the place where you stood as though you had never been there at all. There is a rule you live by on the round, and it is not written down anywhere you have ever seen, though the company that pays your 19 shillings would stand behind it if it came to that. The rule is this: you do not stop. Whatever you hear in the fog, whatever you half see, whatever calls to you from a doorway or an upper window or the mouth of an alley, you light your lamp and you move on. The round comes first. The round always comes first. And it must, because the round is not yours to keep or break as your heart moves you. The company has a contract with the parish vestry, a paper with figures on it, lamps so many, lit by an hour so fixed, and the vestry pays the company by that paper, and the company pays you out of what the vestry pays. Every lamp in your stretch is promised to be burning by a set hour of the evening, and put out again by a set hour before dawn, and the whole of it rests on a man walking fast enough to make the round in the time the paper allows. You have never counted the seconds you are given to each lamp, but your body has counted them for you 19 winters. The brisk walk between posts, the practiced set of the ladder, the tap, the climb, the catch of the gas, the climb down, all of it pared to the bone, because to dawdle at one lamp is to arrive late at the next 40. The round is a clock you walk inside. Stop the clock, and the whole stretch falls behind, and somewhere a paper is broken that your bread is inside it. So on most nights the rule is easy, because most nights the fog gives you nothing to be tempted by. But on a night like this, the fog is full of voices, and the rule is the hardest thing you carry.
You learned it the way most men learn the rules that matter, by breaking it once, early, when you were young enough to think a man who carried a light into the dark had some duty to every soul the dark was troubling. Your second winter, a sound from a court off the main road, down one of those blind little passages where the houses lean their heads together and the fog pools thickest because no wind ever reaches in to stir it. a sound that might have been a child, or a cat, or a woman, or the wind in a broken pane. You went in. You left your round and went down the passage with your pole held up like a torch, calling that you were the light lamper, that you had a light, that whoever it was should call again so you could find them. Nothing called again. You stood in a black court with 4 blind houses round you and not one window lit, the fog so thick in that enclosed place that your own raised flame showed you nothing but its own small smear of gold, and the silence came back so complete that you began after a minute to doubt you had heard anything at all. And while you stood there doubting, you lost the better part of an hour in which 40 lamps along the main road went unlit, 40 stretches of pavement left dark for 40 people to stumble along. You will never know what your hour in the empty court cost the people on the road you had left. That is the thing about the rule. The harm you do by stopping is spread thin across 100 strangers you never meet, and so it is invisible, and so it is easy to forget, while the harm you might do by not stopping stands right in front of you, one voice, one door, and will not let you forget it at all.
So now you do not stop. You have trained yourself to it the way you trained your feet to read the curbstones. You hear the fog's voices, and you keep your hand on the pole and your feet moving to the next post, and you tap it once, twice, and you climb, and you light, and the small act of lighting is the thing you hold on to keep from turning aside. The lamp is what you are for, not the rescuing of strangers. There are men paid for that. The police on their beats, the parish watch, men whose round it is. Your round is the light. If every lamplighter in London turned aside for every sound in the fog, there would be no lamps lit in all the city by dawn, and the harm of that, spread thin across 4 million sleepers, would be greater by far than any good one man with a pole could do down one blind court. You tell yourself this. You have told yourself this for 19 winters, and tonight the fog is testing it again, because tonight, from somewhere off to your right, down one of those leaning passages you cannot see the mouth of, there is a knocking. Not loud, the fog would not let it be loud. A soft, irregular knocking, knuckle on wood with long gaps between, the way a person knocks who has been knocking a long time and has stopped expecting an answer but cannot quite make themselves give it up. Knock, and then nothing, and then when you have nearly decided you imagined it, knock, knock. A door somewhere, being knocked at by someone the door will not open for. You stand on your ladder with your flame at the mantel and listen to it, and the gold blooms in the globe beside your face, and the fog leans in and drinks it, and below you in the brown dark, someone goes on knocking at a door that does not open.
It is not your door. It is not your business whose door it is, or why it will not open, or who stands outside it in the cold at 1 a.m. with the fog going into their chest. It might be a husband locked out by a hard wife, which is no tragedy and no concern of yours. It might be a lodger who has lost his key. It might be someone come to the wrong house in the murk, easy enough tonight when the fog has taken the numbers off the doors and the shape off the streets, knocking at a stranger's door 3 streets from the one they meant. It might be nothing. It is almost certainly nothing. And even if it is not nothing, there is a rule, and the rule is that you do not stop, because the last time you stopped, you bought 1 empty court at the price of 40 dark lamps, and you swore on the cold walk home you would not make that bargain again. So you finish lighting the lamp.
Your hands do it without you, the long habit of 19 winters carrying you through while the rest of you stands and listens. You close the little door in the lantern, you climb down, and at the foot of the ladder you stop, just for a moment, just long enough to turn your face toward the sound and listen once more, because you are not a hard man, whatever the rule has made of you, and a part of you that you cannot train away will always turn toward a person knocking at a door in the dark. Knock. A long gap. Knock, knock. And then, while you stand there, it stops.
You will not know why. That is the gift the fog deals you on nights like this, and it deals it again and again. It gives you the sound and then takes it away before you can make any sense of it, and leaves you to carry the not knowing home. Perhaps the door opened at last, and whoever stood outside is warm now, and the knocking stopped because it was answered. That is the likeliest thing. That is the thing you choose to believe, because a man has to choose what to believe about the sounds the fog gives him, or he will not be able to climb the next ladder. Perhaps the door opened. Perhaps it was a husband, sheepish, let in by a wife who was only making a point. Or perhaps the knocker simply gave it up, decided no one would come, and turned and went off to find some other shelter. You will not know. The fog has closed over the sound the way it closes over your lamps. The dark gave you a question and then took back the half of it you would have needed to answer. You shoulder the pole. You find the next post by the tap. Once, twice, and the ring comes back deadened and close, and you climb, and you light, and you move on. You keep the rule. You keep it because it is the only thing that lets you do the work at all, and because the work is real, and the good of it is real, even when you cannot see it. The respectable city sleeps behind its shuttered glass, and it has handed you the dark, and the dark is full of doors you are not to knock at, and voices you are not to answer, and your whole duty in it is the small, steady thing. Light the lamp, move on. Light the next. On a night like this, you do not light the city. You only prove how much dark there is, and how many people are out in it, knocking at doors that do not open, while a man with the only fire for streets around walks past on the far side of the fog, keeping a rule that breaks his heart a little every time he keeps it. You go on. The knocking does not come again.
There are 3 things you carry into the fog, and you have carried them so long that you have stopped thinking of them as things you carry. They have become a part of the shape of you, the way a fisherman's hands take the shape of his net. The pole, the flame, the ladder. With these 3 you light a parish, and without them you are only a man standing in the dark like any other, no use to anyone. The fog as much your master as it is the drunk's and the lost child's. So you have learned them the way you learn a wife, their moods, their weak places, the particular care each one wants. Let me show you them, slowly, while we walk. There is time. The next post is a little way off yet, and the fog is not going anywhere. The pole first, because it is the oldest friend and the one nearest your hand. It is made of ash, always ash, never oak, because oak is heavy, and a man who lifts a pole 400 times a night learns quickly what an extra pound costs him by dawn. Ash is light, and it is springy, and it does not crack in the cold the way a more brittle wood will. Yours is a shade under 8 feet, taller than you by more than a head, and it is worn to a soft, pale shine along the middle third, where your hands have gripped it for 19 winters, the grain polished down by your own palms until it is smooth as a banister rail. At the foot it is shod with a little iron ferrule to take the wear of being set down on stone 10,000 times, and it is that ferrule that makes the tap when you bring it down on the base of a post, once, twice, the small flat ring that tells you the iron is where your feet promised it would be. At the head, where the work is done, there is the brass. The brass is the heart of it. Up at the top of the ash there sits a little fitting of brass and copper, and within it two things, a small spirit lamp, and beside the lamp a fine pricker of stiff wire. The lamp is your fire, a wick fed from a tiny reservoir of spirit, burning low and steady inside a cage of brass with a hood above it to keep the wet off, so that in all the streaming damp of a night like this, the one flame in your keeping cannot be put out.
It was not always so neat a thing. Your father's people, when gas was young and most of the lamps still burned whale oil, carried no tidy brass at all, but a link, a torch of tow and pitch, smoking and dripping, an open flame on a stick that the wind worried at and the rain very nearly drowned. That is where the old word comes from, the one the cabmen still use without thinking. A link man, a link boy, the lad who ran ahead of a gentleman's carriage with a flaring torch to show the way through a dark or foggy street. The link is gone now, bettered into this small caged flame at the head of your pole, but the work is the same work it always was, a man carrying fire through the dark for the people who cannot make their own, and you are the same man near enough that the link boy was, only with a cleaner tool and a wage instead of a thrown copper. That flame is the whole of your authority in the world, and you tend it the way a shepherd tends the one ewe that will not be replaced. You trimmed its wick before you came out. You filled its little reservoir at the bench by your own door, by the light of your own candle, the smell of the spirit sharp in the cold room. You shielded it with your body coming down the area steps so the first gust off the river would not have it. A lamplighter whose flame goes out in the middle of his round is a lamplighter walking home in disgrace with 40 lamps unlit behind him. And so the flame is the thing you guard above all the rest, more than your own warmth, more than your own breath, which you would spend freely to keep that small fire alive.
And beside the flame, the pricker, that fine, stiff wire no longer than your finger. This is the cleverness of the tool, the part the people in their warm beds never think of, never having had cause to. For a gas lamp is not only lit, it must first be turned on and turned off again before dawn, and the little tap that does this sits up inside the lantern where no hand can reach without a ladder. So the pricker is shaped to catch the small lever of that tap and turn it, on in the evening, off before the grey, all from the ground, all with one practised twist of the pole that you could do in your sleep and very nearly do in the dead middle of the night when the body works and the mind drifts. With the pricker you turn the gas, with the flame set against the open burner you catch it. Two motions joined into one by long habit, a lift, a turn, a touch, and the gold blooms. Your arms know the height of every lamp in the parish without your eyes, and on a night like this, that knowing is the most precious thing you own, for the eyes are no use to you at all. The ladder last, because it is the thing you are gladdest to leave behind when you can. Not every lamp needs it. Many of the older posts in this parish are low enough that the pole alone will reach the burner, and for those you do not climb at all. You stand, you lift, you turn, you touch, and you are away to the next before a man could fill a pipe. But the newer lamps, the tall fluted ones the vestry put up along the main road to show the parish was keeping pace with the times, stand too high for the pole, and for those you carry the little ladder, a short light thing hooked at the top so it can be hung on the crossbar of the lamp itself, leaving both your hands free for the work. You sling it on your shoulder opposite the pole, and the weight of them has worn matching hollows in the cloth of your coat at either side, so that the coat itself, hung on its peg by day, holds the shape of the work, even when you are not in it.
You set the ladder now at the tall post you have come to. You hook it on the crossbar and lean your weight into it once to be sure of it, because a hooked ladder on a wet iron bar is a thing to be sure of, and a fall from even a short ladder onto cold stone is how steady men end up unable to climb at all. The fog is thick at the height of the crossbar and thicker above it, so that as you go up the 3 rungs, the world below you closes over, and you climb into the brown nothing with only the cold rail under your hands and the flame breathing at your shoulder. You find the little lever with the pricker by feel. You turn it. The soft hiss begins. You bring the flame to the burner. The gas takes it with that small whump you feel in your wrist, and the gold comes up, beautiful for a heartbeat, the wet brass of your own pole head suddenly edged in honey color beside your face. And then the fog leans in and drinks it, and you are climbing back down into a dark exactly as deep as the one you climbed out of. These 3 things will outlast you. That is a thought that comes to a man on the slow stretches between posts, in the drift of the small hours, and it does not trouble you the way you might expect. The pole is ash, and ash is patient. Trimmed and reshod, it will light lamps long after your hands have given up gripping it, in the hands of some younger man who never knew your name. The brass head will be unscrewed and cleaned and fitted to a new shaft when this one finally splits, and the flame within it will be the same flame, near enough, that has been carried through these streets since before the link gave way to gas. The tools do not belong to you. You belong to them for a while. You are the pair of hands they're passing through on their long way down the years. And when you are done, they will be handed on, a little more worn, to the next pair of hands, and the lamps will go on being lit, and the city will go on never thinking of any of it.
There is a comfort in that, in the deep middle of a cold night. You are not the light. You never were. You are only the man who carries it for a stretch of years, the way the post carries the lamp, and the main carries the gas, and the ash carries the brass. Each thing holding up the next, none of them the source, all only passing the light along from somewhere behind to somewhere ahead. The flame was lit from another flame. It will light flames after it. And you, with your worn pole and your hooked ladder and your guarded fire, are one link, that old word again, the right word, in a chain of carried light that runs back further than you can see and on further than you will live, lamp to lamp, hand to hand, all down the drowned and patient dark. You shoulder the pole again. You unhook the ladder, sling it across, and feel the familiar weight settle into the worn hollow of your coat. You find the next post by the tap, once, twice, and the ring comes back close and deadened, and you stand a moment in the brown quiet with your 3 companions and let the tiredness sit on you, not unkindly, the way it does on the long, slow stretches when the worst of the night's strangeness has passed and there is nothing left to do but the work, the simple work, the lift and the turn and the touch. On a night like this, you do not light the city. You only carry the fire a little further along, pole, flame, ladder, and set it down, and lift it, and carry it on. The gold blooms. The fog drinks it. You move on into the dark, your tools riding quiet on your shoulders, and the night settles deeper around you both.
You are not as alone out here as the sleeping city believes. That is one of the things the daytime never learns about the night, that the hours it thinks of as empty, the dead middle of the dark, when all the respectable lamps are out and all the respectable people abed, are not empty at all, but peopled by a whole second city, a quiet population that comes out when the first goes in and does its work and is gone again before the curtains open. You belong to that second city. You have lit lamps over its heads for 19 winters, and though you are mostly alone between your posts, you are never quite alone for long, because the fog is full of others like you, and the fog has a way of making them strange. The first you meet tonight is the watchman, and you hear him before you see him, because that is the order the fog gives everything. Sound first, shape long after, certainty last of all if it comes at all. You hear the slow scuff of his boots and the small dull knock of his stick against a railing as he goes, testing the area gates, trying the shop doors, the old steady rhythm of a man whose whole work is to walk and look and be seen. Then his lantern swims up out of the brown, not the lantern itself, only its glow, a soft, swollen smear of yellow with no edge to it, hanging at no distance you can judge. And then, late, the man behind it, a heavy shape in a caped coat, his own face only a paleness under the brim of his hat. "Evening," he says, or "morning," for at this hour neither word is wrong, and neither is quite right. "Thick one," you agree, and that is the whole of it. Two men who keep the night nod at each other across a yard of fog and pass on, each glad, in a way he would not say aloud, that there is one other soul abroad who is not a danger and not in trouble, only working, the same as him. The fog makes the watchman strange, because it makes him slow and large and uncertain, a thing built up out of sound and glow before he is a man at all. But it makes the cabman stranger still and sadder, because the fog has taken from the cabman the one thing his whole trade rests on, which is the seeing of the way ahead. You come upon him stopped in the middle of the road, which no cabman would ever choose to be, his horse standing with its head down and its breath going up in two slow plumes that are lost at once in the larger plume of the fog. The man is down off his box. He is at the horse's head, holding the bridle, and he is not driving the animal, but being led by it. Or rather, the two of them are feeling their way together, because the cabman cannot see his own horse's ears from his seat tonight, and has given up the pretense of being in charge. He has lit both his lamps, the near one and the off, and they do him no good at all. They only hang there, two more swollen smears, lighting nothing, marking his place in the murk for a collision he prays will not come. He asks you, "Lo, do you know are we near the top of the road yet?" And you tell him, because you do know. You know every yard of this stretch by the soles of your feet. And he thanks you with the particular gratitude of a man who has been lost for an hour within half a mile of his own stable. Then he clicks to the horse, and the two of them go on into the brown at a walk, the man leading, the lamps lighting nothing, and the soft, uneven clop of the hooves goes on a long while after the shapes are gone. There is the coffee stall keeper, and his is the one light in all the night that the fog cannot wholly drink, because his is not gas or oil, but a real fire.
a charcoal brazier under a great copper urn, and the red of live coals carries through the murk where the gold of a flame will not. His name is Hollis, and he has kept that same corner where the night people cross since before you took this round. You have warmed your hands at his brazier through 19 winters of fog, and though the two of you have never once spoken of anything that matters, there is no man alive you have stood beside more often in the dark than Hollis at his urn. You smell him before you reach him. The coffee, yes, but under it the charcoal, the warmest smell in all the cold city at this hour. They come to him out of the fog, 1 and 2 at a time, a constable warming his hands off his beat, a market porter on his way to the early work, a woman you do not ask about, a boy from the printing houses with ink to the elbow. Hollis knows them all and asks no questions of any of them, which is the law of the stall, that a man may stand at it and drink his coffee and be no one in particular, owe no account of himself, simply be warm for the space of a penny mug among others who are also only warm. You take your own mug, you wrap both hands round it. For a moment the heat of it is the whole world, and the faces round the brazier glow red on one side and stay dark on the other, and no one speaks much, and the fog stands off a little way beyond the red light, like a thing waiting at the edge of a camp. Hollis nods at you. You nod at Hollis. It is, in its way, a friendship, the longest of your night.
The constable you have already half met at the stall, but you meet him again properly further on, pacing his beat, and the fog has done its work on him too. By day, a policeman is a fixed and solid thing, a pillar of the parish, a man you could pick out at 100 yards by the shine of his buttons and the set of his helmet. By night, in this, he is only a measured tread and a swinging bull's-eye lamp, the little shuttered lantern they carry that throws one narrow eye of light wherever he turns it, and you watch that eye sweep a doorway, a window, a heap of something against a wall, checking, always checking, the way the watchman checks, but with more authority behind it. He stops by you a moment. He asks if you have seen anything on your round, anything amiss, anyone who ought not to be about, and you tell him no, only the usual, only the night's own people, and he nods, because that is the answer he expected, and goes on, his one eye of light swinging slow through the brown, the only thing in all the murk that looks for trouble rather than merely trying to keep out of it. And there are the others you do not properly meet at all, the ones the fog gives you only in pieces. A baker's apprentice somewhere below a grating, the warm yeast smell of the night's first loaves coming up through the iron with a faint red underglow of the oven, the boy himself never seen. A door opening and closing in a wall you cannot find, and a few notes of a song, a woman's voice, tired and not unhappy, gone before you can catch the tune. Two men talking low somewhere off the road, their words lost, only the shape of the talk reaching you, one telling, one listening, the oldest music there is. Footsteps that cross behind you and do not belong to anyone you ever see. The fog gives you all of these, the same way it gives you the lamps, a bloom of something, and then the drinking of it, and then the brown nothing closing over the place where it was.
This is the thing you have come to understand about the night, the thing that keeps a man from being truly lonely in it, even on the longest stretches. The fog does not empty the city of people. It only changes what a person is. By day, a man is a face, a name, a coat you could describe to a magistrate. By night, in the fog, he is a sound and a glow and a smell and a few low words, and then he's gone. And somehow that is not less than the daytime man, but more, or at least stranger. as though the fog had stripped each one of them down to the warm, small fact of being alive and abroad in the cold, and let you meet that fact directly with all the daytime business of who they are worn away to nothing. The watchman testing his gates, the cabman leading his blind horse home, Hollis at his red fire, the constable's one searching eye, the unseen baker, the unseen singer, the footsteps that cross and are gone. Most of them will not remember you in the morning. You will not remember most of them. And yet, for the space of the night, you are all of you the same small company, the second city, the ones awake while the first city sleeps. And there is a warmth in that company that has nothing to do with the coffee keeper's fire, and that the daytime, for all its crowds, never quite gives. You set down your empty thought the way you set down the empty mug. You find the next post by the tap, once, twice, and the ring comes back close and deadened. And somewhere off in the brown, the cabman's hooves are still going, slow and uneven, a man leading his horse home through a dark he cannot see. You climb, you light, the gold blooms and the fog drinks it. And you go on into the peopled dark, alone and not alone, one more of the night's own, carrying your small fire past all the others, carrying theirs. On a night like this, you do not light the city. You only keep the company of the few who are awake to be lit for, and that, on the long cold stretches, is nearly enough.
There is a stretch of every night that has no name because nothing happens in it worth the naming. It begins somewhere after midnight, once the last of the public houses has put up its shutters and the last cab has carried the last reveler home. And it ends somewhere before 4, when the very first of the morning's people, the market men, the bakers, the milk carts, begin to stir the city back toward itself. Between those 2 hours, there is a third thing, a long, flat country of time with no landmarks in it, and you are walking through the middle of it now, and you have walked through it every working night for 19 years, and you could not tell anyone what happens in it, because the truth is that almost nothing does. This is the part of the night that daytime has no record of. Think of it. Every other hour leaves its mark somewhere. A sale rung up in a ledger, a name set down in a register, a train logged out of a station, a birth, a death, a quarrel brought before a magistrate in the morning. The day is all record. The evening is record. Even the early part of the night, with its theaters letting out and its suppers and its last trains, gets itself written down somewhere by someone. But these 4 hours, midnight to 4, the dead middle, these leave nothing. No one is buying. No one is selling. The clerks who keep the city's books are asleep over their own folded arms. And so this stretch of time, which is as real as any other, which the cold makes longer than any other, simply falls out of the city's memory of itself, unrecorded, unwitnessed, gone. The fog only makes plain what is always true of these hours, that they are a blank, that London, for 4 hours, very nearly stops being a place that anyone is keeping count of.
And you are out in the middle of the blank, lighting lamps no one will see lit, for the benefit of no one who was awake to be benefited, keeping a small fire moving through a dark that no book will ever mention. There is a strangeness to that you have long since stopped fighting. By the small hours, your mind has given up trying to make the night into a story, given up watching for the cab, the cry, the knocking door, and has settled instead into the only thing that is really happening,
which is the work. And the work has worn itself down by now to a rhythm so smooth that you can do the whole of it without a single thought passing through you at all. That is the secret of the dead hours, the thing that makes them bearable, even sweet, to a man who has done them long enough. The work becomes a kind of music, and you stop being the one who plays it and become only the place where it is played. Tap the post once, twice. Set the ladder, or do not, by the height of the lamp, and your shoulders know which without asking. Climb or reach. Find the little lever with the pricker by feel. Turn the gas. The hiss begins. Bring the flame, the soft whoomp in the wrist. The gold blooms. The fog drinks it. Climb down. Shoulder the pole. Walk. And then a little way on, out of the brown, another post, and the tap again. Once, twice, and the whole of it once more, and once more, and once more, all down the drowned street, each lamp the same as the last, each stretch of fog the same as the stretch before, until the repetition itself becomes a kind of warmth, a kind of rocking, the way the sea rocks a man who has been long enough aboard a ship to stop feeling the deck move.
You do not count the lamps. You used to when you were young and the round was new and you wanted to know how much of the night was behind you and how much still ahead. You have long since stopped. To count would be to drag time back into the work, and the whole mercy of these hours is that time has loosened its hold. You could not say, just now, whether you have been out 2 hours or 3. You could not say how many posts you have tapped since Hollis's fire. The night in the dead hours does not move in numbers. It moves in lamps, this one and the next one and the one after that, and the gaps between them are not minutes, but only walking, only the soft fall of your own boots on stone you cannot see, and the breath of the little flame at your shoulder, faithful, the one warm thing in all the cold. The mind does a curious thing in this stretch, left so long to itself with so little to do. It does not race, it drifts. It goes off, between one lamp and the next, to places that have nothing to do with the fog or the cold or the work. A summer field from boyhood, the particular way a person you have not seen in years used to laugh, the taste of something your mother made, a tune with no name. And then a post rises up out of the brown, and your hand finds it and taps it, once, twice, and the drift breaks gently, and you climb, and you light, and as you walk on, the mind goes off again somewhere else, to some other warm and aimless place. The way a boat slipped from its mooring drifts not toward anywhere, but only away, turning slow on the tide.
There is no fear in it. And yet, there is one place the mind does not let itself drift, even now, even this loosened. One winter, one particular fog that it comes near to and then turns from, the way the tongue turns from a sore tooth, knowing it is there, choosing not to press. You feel it go by, that year, the way you feel a cold draft from a door you cannot see. The mind brushes the edge of it and shies, and finds some warmer field to wander instead, and you let it. Because the dead hours are not the place to open that particular door, and you have learned, over many nights, to let it stay shut a little longer. It will keep. It has kept this long. And so the drift goes on, gentle around the one dark place it will not enter, and the body keeps the work, and the two of them move on together through the blank hours, neither one troubling the other at all. This is the closest thing to rest that the working night gives a man. This loosened, drifting, half-asleep on the feet condition that comes only in the dead hours and only after long practice, when the work has become so deep a habit that it no longer needs you to attend to it. There is a thing very near to sleep that you do most nights in this stretch, a kind of waking sleep, the lamps blooming and dimming at the edge of it like things half-dreamed, the tap of the pole coming up through the long quiet like the tick of a clock in another room. The cold is still there. The fog is still there, brown and patient and breathing. But they have stopped being things that happen to you and become only the weather of the dream, the room it is taking place in, and you move through them gentled, unhurried, carried along on the rhythm of your own small, endless task.
And the lamps go on being lit. That is the part that would surprise the sleeping city if it ever thought about it, which it never does. That all through the blank hours, while no one is awake to ask it of you, and no book is being kept to mark whether you do it or not, you go on lighting the lamps exactly as carefully as you would at the busy fall of evening with the whole parish watching. No one is checking. The vestry's inspector is abed like everyone else. You can skip a lamp here and there, in the dead middle, and not a soul would know it before dawn. And you do not. You have never once. Not because anyone would catch you, but because the work is the work. And a lamp left dark is a lamp left dark whether anyone sees it or not. And somewhere out at the cold end of these hours, there will be a first early riser, a market man, a girl going to a hard place of work in the dark, who will need the small gold marks to find the way by, and the marks must be there for them, lit and steady, made in the blank hours by a man they will never meet, recorded nowhere, thanked by no one. So the hours that leave no record are, in their quiet way, the truest hours of your work. The evening lamps are half for show, lit while the city watches, a performance of order. But these dead-hour lamps are lit for no audience at all, in a darkness no one is keeping count of, for the bare sake of the light itself, and the few cold souls who will one day need it. There is no witness to them but you, and you have come over 19 winters to love them best for exactly that. The unwitnessed lamps, burning faithfully in the unrecorded dark, asking nothing, proving nothing, simply being light where light was promised, all through the long blank middle of the night that the world will never know it had.
You tap the next post, once, twice. The ring comes back, close and deadened. You climb into the brown. You turn the gas and bring the flame, and the gold blooms beside your face, and the fog leans in and takes it. And you climb down into a dark that has no hour in it and no name. You shoulder the pole, you go on, and the mind slips its mooring once more and drifts off, gentle, into the warm and aimless dark, around the one shut door it will not yet open, while the body walks and taps and climbs and lights, all down the hours that leave no record, toward a morning that is still a long, soft, unhurried way away.
So, the door then. You have walked past it 100 nights in these dead hours, brushed the cold edge of it and turned away. And tonight, perhaps because the fog is so like that fog, perhaps only because a man cannot keep a door shut forever, you let it open, gently, the way you would ease open the room where someone is sleeping. There is no fear in it now. The thing behind the door stopped being able to frighten you a long time ago. What is left is only the ache, and the ache is an old companion, worn smooth, almost dear. Her name was Annie. You will say it now, here, in the brown dark where no one can hear you, because there are nights when you go a whole round without once letting yourself think it,
and that is its own small unfaithfulness. Annie. She was your wife for 11 years, and she has been gone for 8, and the arithmetic of that has lately come to sit with you in the quiet, that the day is not far off when you will have lived longer without her than you lived beside her, and that after that the balance will only tip further, year by year, until the 11 years you had become a small bright island in a long gray sea of years you did not. You do not know what a man is meant to do with a fact like that. You have decided, mostly, to carry it the way you carry the pole, set into the worn place, balanced, not looked at, simply borne. It was a winter like this one that took her. Not a single night. The fog does not often take a person in a single night, whatever the broadsheets like to say, but a whole long season of it, the fogs coming one after another that year, week on week, brown and thick and unrelenting, the sun a rumor, and the lamps lit by 3 in the afternoon. The city stewed in itself all that winter. And Annie, who had never been strong in the chest, who coughed every cold season and laughed it off every spring, did not laugh this one off. The fog got into her the way it gets into all of us. You have felt it yourself, the gray you spit at the end of a round, the black on the cloth in the morning. Only she could not breathe it back out again the way you could. It settled in her, and it stayed. By the turn of the year her cough had changed, gone softer and farther off, the way a sound goes when a door is closing slowly on the room it comes from. By February she could not climb the stairs without stopping halfway. And still the fogs came, week on week, and there was nothing in them but more of the same brown air, and nowhere in all the city to take her where the air was clean, because you were a lamplighter on 19 shillings, and the clean air was for people who could pay to go and find it.
You went on lighting the lamps. You have turned that over many times since, in the slow rue that comes with the dead hours, and you have come at last to know there was nothing else you could have done. But it sat hard on you for a long while that every evening you went out into the very thing that was taking her, and lit 400 lamps so that other men's wives could find their way safely home. And every dawn came back through it and climbed the stairs to the room where yours lay fighting for the breath the same fog was stealing. You would sit with her in the hour you had before sleep. You would hold the cup for her. You would tell her about the round, the small foolish things, the cabman who got himself lost, the new lamp the vestry put up by the church, Hollis's coffee, and what Hollis had said, because she liked to hear it, liked to be walked through the night she could no longer come out into, and it was the one thing you had to give her that the fog could not take. She would listen with her eyes closed and sometimes smile at the right place, and that smile, given out of all that long tiredness, is a thing you have kept these 8 years more carefully than any object in the world. She went in the early spring, when the fogs had at last begun to lift, and there has always seemed to you a soft strangeness in that she held on through the whole brown winter and let go just as the air was turning sweet again, as though she had spent the very last of herself getting through the worst of it, and kept nothing back for the better days. It was morning. You had just come in off the round. The fog was thin that day, thinning to nothing, and a little real light was coming gray through the window for the first time in months, and she was very quiet, and you sat with her, and at some point in that quiet, you could not say the exact moment, and you have stopped trying to find it. She simply was not fighting any more. There was no terror in it. You want that set down plainly, here in the dark, because the broadsheets would make it a horror, and it was not a horror. It was tired, and it was quiet, and at the very end it was almost like a rest, like a woman who has been a long time cold, finally being let in by a fire. You held her hand. The gray light came in, and the city outside, which did not know and would not have cared if it had, went on about its morning. The market carts already rumbling, somebody's milk can ringing on a step, the whole great unhurried machine of the day starting up again as though nothing in it had changed. For everyone in London but you, nothing had.
You lit the lamps again that same evening. You have wondered since why you did. There were men who would have taken the round for you, a week, a fortnight, and no one would have thought the worse of you. And the truest answer you have ever found is that you did not know how to do anything else, and that the lamps were the one place in all the world where your hands knew the way without your heart having to lead them. So you went out into the spring dusk that she had not lived to see, and you tapped the first post, once, twice, and your hands did the work while the rest of you walked along behind them, hollow, lighting the lamps for a city full of wives who were still going to come home that night to husbands who did not yet know what you knew. You do not remember that round. You remember only that the lamps got lit, all of them, every one, because the next evening you found them already out and waiting, and not one of them dark. So you must have done it, though there is no record of it anywhere, not even in you. That is the thing the fog taught you that year, and it is the thing you have carried into every dead hour since, that the work does not stop for grief, and that this is not the cruelty it first seems, but in the end a kind of mercy. The lamps had to be lit. Someone's wife, someone's child, someone's tired girl coming home in the dark still needed the small gold marks to steer by, whether or not the man who made them had a hole torn through the middle of him. And so the work reached down and took you by the hands and walked you through the worst of it, lamp by lamp, tap by tap, the way it walks you through the blank hours now, the body keeping on while the heart drifts loose, and somewhere in the long, faithful rhythm of it, the hole did not close. It never closes, but it learned to be carried. You learned to carry it, the way you carry the pole, set into the worn place, balanced, born.
You do not blame the fog. That is the strange thing, the thing you could not have believed in that first hollow spring. The fog is not cruel. It is only weather. Smoke and damp and cold, the breath of a million fires lying low over the roofs, doing what it does to strong chests and weak ones alike, choosing no one, sparing no one, meaning nothing by any of it. To hate it would be to hate the rain for falling. Annie would have said as much. She had no patience for a grudge held against a thing that could not know it was being blamed. And so you have made your peace with the fog, or something near enough to peace to live inside. You walk out into it every night, the very thing that took her, and light your lamps in it, and let it drink your light, and you do not hate it. You only remember, on nights like this one, that there was a year it took someone, and that the someone was yours, and that you go on. You close the door again now, softly, the way you opened it. It will keep till the next time. The ache settles back into its worn place, and you find the next post by the tap, once, twice, and the ring comes back close and deadened in the brown, and you climb, and you turn the gas, and bring the flame, and the gold blooms beside your face for a heartbeat before the fog leans in and takes it, the way it takes everything, the way it took her, gently in the end, like a tired thing finally let in out of the cold. You shoulder the pole, you go on, Somewhere ahead the lamps are waiting, and behind you one of them burns that no one can see, throwing its small, steady gold into the dark for whoever comes next. And you light them tonight, as you have lit them every night for 8 years, for Annie, who liked to hear about the round, and could not come out into it, and is out in it now somewhere, in all of it, in every quiet breath of the city she loved and could not breathe.
The night is not all hardness. That is a thing the daytime never quite believes about it, that a cold round through a drowned and brown-black city in the dead middle of the hours no one keeps count of could hold any softness at all. But it does. The night has its mercies, small ones, easy to miss if you are only enduring it and not living in it. And over 19 winters you have learned to find them and to take them, because a man who cannot find the small mercies of the dark will not last long out in it. There are 3 of them tonight, the way there are most nights, and you will take each one as it comes, and each one is a place to rest a moment before the work picks you up again. The first mercy is warmth, and it comes where you would least look for it. There is a grating in the pavement near the end of the second street, an iron grating set flush with the stones that most men step over 1,000 times and never think of. And beneath it, somewhere down in the dark, is the bakehouse with its ovens lit and roaring all through these hours to have the morning's bread ready by the time the city wakes wanting it. And up through that grating all night comes warmth. Not much, a breath, a soft column of risen heat carrying the smell of the baking with it, yeast and char and something sweet under it. And you have known about this grating for years, and you slow your step when you reach it the way you would slow at a fire. You stand on it a moment, just a moment. The round will not allow more, and you would not take more. But for that moment, the warmth comes up around your cold legs and into your coat, and the smell of the bread fills your head, and somewhere below your feet, a boy you will never see is sliding the loaves in and out of the heat, doing his own night work, so that yours, when it brings you over his grating, is met for one breath by his. You do not know his name, and he does not know you exist, but he warms you every night without ever meaning to. And that is the first mercy. And you take it, and you go on the warmer for it.
The second mercy is Hollis and his fire and his coffee. But it is not really the coffee. The coffee is only the shape the mercy comes in. You come to his corner in the deep middle of the round when the cold has got properly into you and the bakehouse warmth is 2 streets behind and long since gone, and there is the red of his brazier glowing through the brown the way nothing else glows through it, the one live fire in all the drowned dark. And there is Hollis, the same as he has been for 19 winters, asking nothing of you, expecting nothing, pouring the coffee into the same chipped mug he always gives you, and pushing it across without a word, because words are not what the stall is for. You wrap both hands round it. The heat of it goes straight up your arms and into the cold middle of you, and the steam wets your face, and you stand in the red light among whatever other night souls have washed up at the brazier, and for the space of that mug you are not working and not cold and not alone. That is the mercy. The coffee is the least of it. The mercy is the red fire and the silence and the one corner of the whole indifferent night where a tired man is simply let be. You drink it slowly. Hollis nods at you. You nod at Hollis. And when the mug is empty, you shoulder the pole again, and the warmth of it rides inside you a good way down the next street before the cold finds it and takes it back.
The third mercy is the smallest. It is the flame at your shoulder.
The little caged fire at the head of your pole, yours and only yours. All night you shield it and feed it and keep it from the gusts, and all night it gives back what you give it, a faithful small warmth near your cheek, a faint gold breathing in the brown at the edge of your sight, a companion that does not speak and does not tire and does not leave. On the long stretches when the mind has slipped its mooring and gone drifting off into the dark, it is the flame that keeps you in the body's world. You have walked more miles beside that small light these 8 years than any living soul. And on a night like this, when the fog drinks every light you make and gives nothing back, the one light it cannot quite reach is the one at your own shoulder, burning for you alone, asking only to be kept, keeping you in return. That is the third mercy. You would not trade it for any of the others. 3 small mercies, then, a breath of warmth from another man's work, one corner where you are let be, one small light that is yours to keep. They do not sound like much set down in a row, and they are not much measured against the cold and the dark and the long unrecorded hours, but they are enough. That is the thing the night has taught you that the warm sleeping city will never need to learn. That a man does not require much to get him through, a breath of warmth he did not expect, one place he is let be, one faithful light of his own. Give him those 3, and he will walk all night through the worst the fog can do, and come home in the gray, not broken. Annie was all 3 at once for 11 years. You have had to learn since to find them scattered, a grating, a brazier, a flame, one here and one there. But they are still to be found. They still rise up out of the cold dark for a man who has learned to look. And as long as they do, the night is not all hardness.
You stand a moment longer than you should. The flame breathes gold at your shoulder. 2 streets back, the grating sends up its warmth for the next gold man. Somewhere behind you, Hollis tends his red fire for whoever comes next out of the brown. And ahead, the lamps are waiting, patient in the dark, asking only to be lit. You are not in any hurry now. The worst of the night is behind you. The hardest hours are walked. What is left is gentle. You find the next post by the tap. Once, twice, the ring comes back close and deadened, and it is almost a comfort now, that small voice of the iron. You climb. You turn the gas. You bring the flame. The gold blooms beside your face, and the fog leans in and takes it, gently, the way it takes everything. And you climb down into the soft dark, warmer than you went up. You shoulder the pole. You go on. And the night, which is not all hardness, holds you up a little while longer, and lets you walk, and lets you rest, lamp by lamp, mercy by mercy, all the slow, soft way toward the morning.
There is a thing about your work that no one ever thinks of, because it is the opposite of the thing they picture when they picture a lamplighter. They picture the lighting, the man with the pole at dusk, walking the street ahead of the dark, leaving a trail of gold behind him. That is the picture, and it is a pretty one. And it is only half of what you do. The other half no one paints. The other half is the putting out. Because every lamp you light at evening, you must come back and unlight before the morning, before the gas bill runs the parish dry, before the day makes a waste of a flame no one needs by daylight. So there is a second round, the dawn round, the dark twin of the bright one,
and on it you walk the same streets in the same order, and at every post you lift the pole and turn the little lever the other way, and the gold dies, one lamp after another, all down the waking street. You are not only the man who brings the light, you are also the man who takes it away. It is the colder work, the putting out, though it costs the arms exactly the same. There is a gladness in lighting. Even on the worst night, each lamp is a small thing made better, a piece of the dark beaten back. But the dawn round is all undoing. You walk into the gray with your pricker, and one by one you kill the little fires you spent the night tending, and the street goes dark behind you, even as the sky goes pale ahead. The two darknesses trading places, yours dying, so the day's light can have the street to itself. Most mornings you do not let yourself feel it. It is the work. The work is the work. A lamp left burning into full day is a lamplighter not doing his job. You turn them out, all of them, every one, and you go home in the gray with the whole parish dark behind you, ready for the sun.
All of them but one. There is one lamp you do not put out. You have not put it out in 8 years, and no one has ever caught you, and no one ever will, because it stands at the mouth of a court so far off the inspector's way that the morning swallows it before any man with authority comes near. It is an old low post. The pole reaches it without the ladder. On the bright round you light it, the same as all the rest. But on the dawn round, when you come to it, you lift the pole and you set the pricker to the little lever, and your wrist will not turn. It is as simple as that, and as strange. The hand that has turned out 400 lamps a morning for 19 winters, that could do it in its sleep, and most mornings nearly does, comes to this one low lever and stops, will not. You stand there in the gray with the pole raised and the pricker set and the small gold flame still going above you, and you wait for the wrist to do the thing it has always done, and it does not do it. So you lower the pole, and you leave the lamp burning into the morning, into a day that does not need it, and you shoulder your pole and walk away and let it burn. You could tell yourself it is for the early risers. There is a girl who comes out of that court before it is properly light every working morning, and the lamp at the mouth of the court is lit when she passes, and you have seen her glance up at it the way a person glances at a thing they have come to count on without knowing they count on it. You could say it is for her, and it is, a little. But that court is where you lived, the two of you, the 11 years. And that low lamp at its mouth is the one Annie could see from the window, the one whose gold came up through the glass every evening you were out lighting it, so that she always knew, even at the end, even when she could not climb the stairs, that the small gold mark at the mouth of the court meant you were out there in the dark, working, coming home. It was your light to her, not the 400 others, that one. And when she went in the early spring, you came to it on the dawn round the next morning out of pure habit and lifted the pole, and your wrist would not turn, and it has not turned since.
That is the one defiance of your whole obedient life. In everything else, you are the parish's man. You light when they say light, and darken when they say darken. 19 winters of doing exactly as the vestry pays you to. But this one lamp is yours. You light it for no wage and put it out for no one. And to turn it out now would be to agree that the dark had finally won, and you will not agree to that, not while you have a pole in your hand and a flame to set against the morning. So it burns on, past the dark, past the gray, into a morning that does not need it.
and as long as it burns, there is a small gold mark in the world that says a man loved a woman and goes on saying it after she is gone. One day, some younger lamplighter will inherit this round and find that low lamp lit at dawn and never know why, and leave it, perhaps, out of a habit he cannot explain. And so the light will go on being carried, hand to hand, the way all light is carried, long after the reason for it has worn away to nothing. You leave it burning now. You lift the pole and set the pricker to the lever, and you do not turn it. The flame stays. The gray comes up around it. You stand the moment you always stand, looking up at the one gold light in the waking street, and then you shoulder the pole and you go.
There is no sorrow in it, or not only sorrow. There is something nearer to peace. The night is nearly over. The fog is thinning at last, the way it always thins toward morning. The brown going pale, the shapes of the street coming back one by one out of the drowned dark, the railings, the doorways, the far end of the road that has been lost all night and is there again now, faint, returning. You have walked the whole of it. You have lit your 400 lamps and let the fog drink them and put all but one of them out again, and you are going home in the gray with your pole on your shoulder and one small flame still burning behind you for a woman who cannot see it. That is a night's work. That is, near enough, a life's. You find the last post by the tap. Once, twice. The ring comes back close and soft in the thinning air, and you turn for home, the one lamp gold behind you, the gray morning ahead, and the long round done.
The lamp is out now, or near enough. Samuel Reed went home in the gray one winter morning 150 years ago, and somewhere up a court that no longer stands, a low lamp burned on into a day that did not need it, and then that too was gone, the way all of it went, the gas, the courts, the fog itself, the whole drowned brown city breathing its last over a single long century until nothing of it was left but stone and a few names in a few books that almost no one opens. But the pole survived. It is a strange thing what time keeps and what it lets go. It kept the pole. The brass-shod lamplighter's pole, 6 feet of worn ash with the little hook and pricker at its head, the one he balanced into the same worn hollow of his shoulder for 19 winters. It did not rot, and it was not burned, and it did not go for scrap in any of the wars. It passed hand to hand the way the light did, from a sun to a shop to a cellar to a sale, the reason for it worn away at every passing, until one gray afternoon it came to rest behind glass in a quiet room with a card beside it, and the card said only, "Lamplighter's Pole, London, 1880, donor unknown." And you are standing in front of it. That is the strange part, and you have only just noticed it, that the you who walked the drowned streets all night, who tapped the posts and shielded the flame and could not turn his wrist to put one lamp out, has somehow become the you who is here, now, warm in the soft dark, 150 winters on, looking at the worn brass through the glass, with the whole long night already going quiet behind you. You crossed the years without feeling the join. The fog let you through.
No one in the room knows what the pole knows. The card does not say that he lit 400 lamps a night for a city that was asleep. It does not say which one he left burning, or for whom, or that his wrist would not turn. It does not say his wife could see that lamp from her window, or that he kept it lit 8 years after she could see anything at all. All of that is gone, worn away, donor unknown, and yet the pole is here, behind the glass, holding the shape of his shoulder in the wood, and somehow that is enough. The reason wears away, the light goes on being carried. The fog drank every lamp he ever made. It drinks them still in a way. The city he lit is gone, the streets renamed, the dark he held back swallowed by a brighter dark of a different kind. On a night like this, you do not light the city, you only prove how much of it is dark. He knew that. He went out anyway, every night, and tended his small flame against a thing far larger than himself, and lost every dawn, and went out again the next night. And that, not the winning, there was never any winning, that was the whole of the work and the whole of the man. You do not need to remember any of it. That is the mercy of the hour you are in. The pole will keep behind its glass, whether you hold the story or let it go. And the night does not ask you to carry anything now, not the cold, not the fog, not the long unrecorded hours, not even his name. You can set it all down. It has been a long round. The lamps are nearly all out. There is one far off, still burning for someone, and it will go on burning without your watching it. So let your shoulders down from the worn hollow they have held all night. Let the pole lean in its corner. The fog is thinning. The gray is coming, soft, the way it always comes, and the shapes of the day are returning one by one, faint, far off, no hurry in any of them. You find the last post by the tap, once, twice. The ring comes back close and soft and very far away. And you go home through the thinning dark, warm now, the long night done, one small light still gold behind you, in a window no one will ever find, and you rest. Sleep well. We'll keep the lamp lit for you.